Hey, Keith Shovlin, Son of Swift here with you for Son of Swift Genealogical Pursuits. It is the 28th of January, 2025. We're actually getting this done before midnight, so that's good progress. Maybe we can keep this up for a few weeks. So, a lot to cover tonight. Some stuff I've been doing my research, other things, just different things to share with you. Now, last week, I had a long talk about rebuilding a tree, basically having to throw out half of my great grandfather's family history stuff that I had because of this final grave record that you see pictured right here. Because I had Mary Jane Price as being Mary Jane Brock Price, not Sprouse Price. And it turned out that I had the wrong Noah and Mary Price, my parents of Mary Margaret Price. So we're going to get into where I am on the research on that. First, let's go ahead and take a look at my weekly check-ins with the surname searches. So, and where did that go? All right. So, first up, Angevine this week. Let's see. Pictou County Integrated Street Crime Enforcement Unit charges 2 men after locating. So that's in Nova Scotia. Florida man admits to sexually battering young child. Jeez. This is a pretty bad one this week. Ocala man arrested for videos of child sex abuse. Brandon Angevine. Stolen vehicles again. Stolen vehicles. Ocala man. It's a crime blotter this week. Okay, Bulldog highlights Creek powerlifters at weekend event. Lincoln Parish Journal. Creek head coach Jacob Angevine. Back to the Florida man again. Obituary for William J. Angevine. Another house for sale on Angevine Road in Warren, Connecticut. That guy in Florida. Obituary for Daniel Paul Angevine. Angevine Middle School, Colorado. Dollar Angevine versus Porcelain Dolls. I guess in Angevine Middle School, are we still bedroom home for sale? Angevine Middle School. Angevine Middle School in Lafayette. Aaron Angevine on TikTok. Zoe Angevine. Aaron Angevine again on TikTok with 2 more. Okay, so that's the Angevines for this week. Out of the Shovlins. Katrina Shovlin starts us out this week. Dragon's Den on air. The moment reveals furious row between BBC stars in awkward clash. Again, the Daily Express. And then back to our usual topper, Andrew Shovlin, Mercedes. Trackside engineering director. Hamilton. A. Shovlin. Cambridge Ridge and Latins. A. Shovlin goes a 2-meter crown, Mass State Track Coaches Invitational. Instagram for Wayne Shovlin. I'm available April and June for your drum tech needs. Union Event Center. Then Shovlin Mattress Factory on Instagram. Spotlight on our veterans program. Michigan Courts, City of St. Clair Shores versus James B. Shovlin, docket number 290441. I'll get deep into that. We have an obituary for Barbara Shovlin. Facebook for Jerry Shovlin. Congratulations, Fred Morgan and Liv Shovlin are getting married, and their page wedding website up on the knot. Instagram for Jamie Shovlin. Twitter talking about Ace. And then ending it up with the Shovlin Mattress Factory. That's good. Now, of course, last week I did talk about that we are on Blue Sky now. These Sunswift Genealogical Pursuits. And yeah, see, last week's episode is listed there. I didn't have a new blog post to put up there right now. because my research has been kind of all over the place. But there's definitely some stuff I'll be covering in the weeks ahead coming out of that. All right, now to the bulk of tonight's episode, what we're covering. So, of course, the person in interest last week was Mary Margaret Price here. Now, Mary Margaret is my, as you can see, second great-grandmother. That's great-great-grandmother. And I had her erroneously listed to the wrong Noah and Mary Price. And this was shown to me by way of this find a grave entry for Mary Jane Sprouse Price. Now, I have been looking since last week. You can see the tree. It used to be a nice full tree. Now it's much smaller. I was able to reconnect the prices, so the great great grandparents of Mary Margaret Price are still the same on the Price clan, but we got a whole bunch more to figure out. So we have here now, it's hinting me on Eichner's. I'm not too certain about this because in looking up Mary Eichner, I found information about these parents on a couple other family trees, but no real records to back it up, and things not adding up quite right. So that was still, so that's one I set aside for now. But today, and since last Tuesday, my research has been focused on figuring out the Mary Jane Sprouse connection in this Sprouse family. So I did the common search stuff. Of course, I have her find a grave. I have her as Mary Price in the census in 1910, in 1900, 1880, 1870. I have a possibility of her in the 1850, but it wasn't clear. She's definitely back to the 1860 census as a Price. And Ancestry wasn't giving me an 1851 that connected. Now, I had started to find hints that Sprouse wasn't her proper name. Part of it was a family history tree on Ancestry by a cousin of mine, Robert V. Becker, in which he had her last name as Sprowells, Sprowells. And that started to get me thinking, okay, maybe there's some information here that I didn't have. Maybe there is something I didn't have. So, yeah, looking at on Find a Grave and on Ancestry, the hints, this is the stuff from Baker Russell, his tree, in which he has Mary Sprowells. And this had a supposed death certificate. Now, death certificate is actually perfectly tied to the family tree. Going back to, so this is where my research has led to. I'm looking at this Find a Grave. It's telling me her last name is Sprouse. I do a search of the 1850 census for Virginia, because obviously West Virginia didn't exist yet. And especially Ohio County. No Sprouses in Ohio County. Says he's born in Pennsylvania. Okay, maybe they were still living in Pennsylvania. I do a search of the 1850 census for anyone whose last name is Sprouse. It found none. Not a single Sprouse in the entire 1850 census. So okay, maybe it's Sprowells. I searched for Sprowells. I found a few Sprowells, but not a Mary that would have been 16 years old in 1850. So I'm racking my brain on this, and I'm looking over this again and again, and you have here, Lesser Sprouse, no other connections. It's got this entry on her death, and then it's got her death certificate here. And of course, it shows it nice and small there now. So, okay, I'm like, all right, I'm going to focus on this death certificate one more time. There we go. Mary Price, female white widow, born February 22nd, 1832. 76 years, 2 months, and 22 days. The time of death on May 17th, 1910. And birthplace, Pennsylvania, that matches. Name of husband, and okay, no price, cause of death, pneumonia. This is what I've seen on Find a Grave. The name of father, Collins. Birthplace of father, U.S. Name of mother, Collins. Birthplace of mother, U.S. Where the hell does Sprouse come from? It says here on her death certificate that her maiden name is Collins. Where the hell did Sprouse come from? And seriously, where? I'm taking this from somebody. It's not. She has a plot. She doesn't have a stone. It says no gravestone, so it's not like they read it off of a grave. Where the hell did Sprouse come from? Could it have been she remarried after Noah died, because Noah died in 1906 and she lived to 1910? You know, do people get remarried in their 70s? Yes. In the early 1900s, not so much. And if she did get remarried, her death certificate would be under her new married name. It wouldn't be under her first married name. So finally, I just broke down. I'm like, okay, 1850 census, she's 16 years old. Is there a Mary Collins in Ohio County, Virginia in 1850? And yes, there is. So then I finally found her. She is, in fact, Mary Jane Collins, born 1834 in Pennsylvania, died 1910 in Wheeling, Ohio, County, West Virginia. I find the 1850 census, which lists a mother, Frances Collins, born about 1801, and it lists a brother and a sister, Jane C. Collins and Elizabeth Collins. Now, it erroneously lists James and Elizabeth as husband and wife on Ancestry. It doesn't say it on the census itself, because at the time of 1850 census, James was 28, Olive was only slightly younger. For some reason, they thought, well, she just says James C. and Elizabeth. So I decided, okay, her mother's name is Frances. She has a brother, James. She has a sister, Elizabeth. So I entered that information in. It gives me nothing on hints on anything. No idea on Frances. No idea on that. So then I'm like, okay, James C. I go and I look up James Clemens Collins as what I find out. And here I have him in the 1880 census and his Find a Grave. Here it is, James Clement Collins with his wife Rebecca. And I'm like, okay, there's our James C. And it gives me slightly more information, but not quite enough. So then I'm like, okay, so I have them in the 1850 census. For some reason, Ancestry isn't giving me any more things on any more hints on other census data for the Collins family. But I found James in 1860, 1870, 1880, and onward up to 1900. So then I look at the sister. Well, actually, I then continue to try to find Frances Collins. I find her in the 1840 census as a mother with a young son, at that point 18-year-old son, and a teenage daughter and a younger daughter, and then another man living there in the 20 to 49 range. So could that have been Frances' husband? We don't know. Why was she listed as the head of household rather than the husband? Don't know. But she wouldn't have been Collins earlier than 1840. She would have been under her father's family, which I have no way of figuring that out, and Ancestry isn't giving me any hints. But now I know for certain that that's most likely it. So then I try to find her in the 1860 census. I find a Frances Collins, born 1801 in Pennsylvania, living in Kentucky. Now, Kentucky and West Virginia are bordering states. It's not too far outside the possibility. And so I look, and it shows her living with the Stroop family. John Stroop, his wife Olive, and their children. And then in 1870, he we have more of Olive and her husband John, and she is listed as the mother of Olive. And I'm like, so there's another daughter, Olive. But wait a minute, what happened to Elizabeth? Then I find the marriage record, and here it is, Olive Elizabeth Collins. It went back and forth between her being Elizabeth or Olive. Perhaps maybe she was Elizabeth Olive. And when she got married to John J. Stroop, she changed it to Olive Elizabeth, and she liked it better. But I found them living in Campbell County, Kentucky. And from there, I was able to find a grave entry. And which Olive Elizabeth Collins. And after all this digging, checking out James C. Collins, checking out Frances, whatever her name is, I find Olive's. And here's this wonderful information on Find a Grave. So this whole adventure was started because of incorrect information on Find a Grave. But now I get this wonderful information. Olive was the 90-year-old daughter of Levi Collins. Levi's got a first name. And Fanny Gibson. Now, obviously, that's Fanny is nickname for Frances, but we have her last name of Gibson. Got a marriage date in Wheeling County to John J. Stroop. Widowed, lived at Fort Thomas, Kentucky. Information about her kids, census data, and then, of course, it's listed her daughter, Ida Willibel Stroop Speth, having married their daughter, Ida, having married one Hector G. Speth in Kentucky. So thanks to the person who has updated this page for Olive Elizabeth Collins Stroop. They're taught in Evergreen Cemetery in Southgate, Campbell County, Kentucky. And all I have here listed as far as credit is maintained by M, originally created by Lost and Found Ancestors, and no other information listed. But there, we have it. So now I have Mary Jane Collins, daughter of Levi Collins and Frances Gibson. So now the tree that got pretty empty last week is now a little bit fuller. There's one more generation back. Now, knowing I have Levi Collins and knowing that he was probably born somewhere around 1799, 1800, that should be easy. No, because immediately Levi Collins brought up a bunch of Levi Collinses in Indiana, Ohio, and thereabouts that could not have been their Levi Collins unless he abandoned them and had another family. So the mystery continues, and of course, but now we have Frances Gibson, and of course, on the death record for Mary Jane for Olive Collins, it does list her mother's name as Gilson, but I think that was just an error of how someone did not put the proper writing down for the B instead of an L. So now we have that information I was looking for. We have that problem solved. And that's now I can take legitimate steps in finding more. It's just incredible that when I was doing the research into my sister-in-law's family, I was finding stuff so quickly. Like in a couple of hours, just sitting down with her parents, I filled out a good chunk of the tree. And over the course of the following month, I filled out the tree almost, comparable to where my family tree was after 20 years of research. Now, that's not to say that the information came more fully. There's a lot more stuff available digitally now that wasn't when I got started out. Census data, marriage records, death records, all the sort. and the fact that most of her family lived in the area of York County, Pennsylvania, for going back generations, you had common records easier to track down. It is a little nerve-wracking that her family filled out so easily, and when I come back, have to restart a part of my family to hit brick walls so quickly, and it's just sad that you go down to Mary Margaret Price and her son William Robert Roach, my great grandfather, and you look at now it's not letting me show it. There. When you look at the fan chart now for William Robert Roach and how empty it is from where I had it on that big printout last week, it's sad, but things are coming back together. It's filling back in slowly but surely. Hopefully next week I'll have even more to fill in. I'll do a deep dive in the Eichners maybe tomorrow, and then come back to Levi Collins and Francis Gibson, and hopefully continue to rebuild this tree back to where it was. So that's the middle part of the title of this episode, Ancestry Orphans, Rebuilding a Tree and More from the LOC. Let's go take it a step back to Ancestry Orphans, because that's not about orphans that I'm researching on Ancestry, even though that is something I am looking into. That's more about the fact that I had a very rich family history spread out on my family for going back years. And suddenly that was all gone. And I had done a lot of research, and in some cases, like I've shown you when I've added things, I've filled in children of different family members and just added more and more and more as I went on. And then when I realized some of these weren't actually in my tree, that meant having to go back and remove them, delete them out. And I did it, tried to do it methodically. I went to the furthest back and deleted the ancestors one by one. But I didn't make sure that I deleted all of the children or any additional husbands and wives. It just did not do it as fully as I should have. So now I have orphans on my ancestry tree. And it doesn't look that bad when I look at it here, but I can know that I can search in the tree and I will be able to track down some of these. Find in tree, like Overbeck. There was Orbaugh. See, none are found now. But there were quite a few back that I didn't have before, that I had before that I did not properly delete out. So now I need to work on that. Let me see if I can find another one here. Going back to the chart. Let's see. So these are the fan charts before and after the enhanced research I did last summer. Before and after. Now, of course, this is what I had for William Robert Roach. And now everything on this side is now gone. And then this is what I continue to find. So we have all these people here that in some cases I had family members filled in that I now need to track down to make sure that I deleted them out. So Oberbeck, Helms, Perlman, Brack, Stolp, Funkhauser, Mueller, Fudge, Miller, Schmidten, Miller. These are all now on my tree that I need to make sure they are gone. So, in fact, yeah, if we look here, I just did a search for Elizabeth Perlman, who's still going to be on. Actually, it makes sense that she's still on my tree. The Perlmans and them, because of the fact now I know that her husband, David S. Price, is sibling to George Price. So it's still part of the family. I'm not going to just remove them, but some of the others, yeah. So let's see if I can check Mueller, Funkhauser, and such, and see if there's any other. Basically, what they are now is orphan records on my tree. Oh, nope. Mueller. Yep. See, just sitting there all by himself. Because I deleted his parents, then I deleted any children. So these all were kids of ancestors in the old tree that I missed. So now the reason I want to get rid of these is because if there is somebody else that's doing research and they find my tree and they find these scattered records, they're going trying to look at my tree to see if there's any more, and they're not going to find their people on my tree. It's going to be this great mystery. And so these people aren't related to me and not related by marriage or anything. So might as well just take them off the tree. Oh, and I went too far for ancestry. All right. Oh, okay. So be careful when you're putting stuff on Ancestry. If you do delete things, try to get those orphan files out too, so you don't end up clashing with anyone else that's doing family history research. All right, now the final thing I want to talk about, I decided to, every once in a while, I just go on to the Library of Congress catalog and do a look for different surnames. And I went back to the discovery I made a few weeks ago of the Gartley surname, that it's actually a castle and small village in Scotland, the village of Gartley. So I decided to search Gartley by the name of the actual village, and I was able to find a few items. First, just searching Gartley by way of the regular name, and I get this wonderful play, a comedy drama in 3 acts, Little Sister. Here it's called, said by Irwin H. Hampton, but looking at the inside, it's by Eleanor F. Gartley for the Farquhar Play Bureau in Franklin, Ohio, copyright 1929. I look in the back to see if there's anything about the author. Nothing. It's the only thing listed. I wasn't sure if she was a poet. Little Sister, that could have been something family related. It's not part of the family history collection. As you can see by a PS call number, it would have been a C call number for by the Dewey Decimal System for the family history collection. So I took a look at it. It'll go right back to the shelves. Now, the other book that I had searched was, this is with the other spelling of Gartley, The Kirkyard of Gartley. Now, I had been interested, I saw Kirkyard and references to that when I was looking at Gartley. And here, Kirkyard is just a way of saying churchyard, where it's a hard K instead of a ch. So, The Kirkyard of Gartley. So, we have this wonderful book that I read through today. Lists all of the people buried in the churchyard of Gartley Church in Gartley, Scotland. And it's this whole list. The person numbered, that's Sheila Spears, numbered all of the graves, and then got the information that's written on the graves, that's in the records of the church, and some descriptions. Now, looking through this, I did find, let's see, in memory of Christian Gartley, relative of Alexander Black Gardner in Aberdeen, neighbors knows of Gartley. I had, here's at the center, here's the map of the Gartley churchyard, where all the graves are numbered so you can know which ones you're looking at. I went through it, speed reading, going through and making sure every reference to a Gartley. I know my great-great-grandfather, Alexander Gartley's parents, were Henry Gartley and Mary Chestnut, and they were both born in Scotland. So I'm looking for Gartleys and Chestnuts. I don't see any Chestnuts. I do see some Gartleys, like here's a George Gordon Gartley, with the same spelling as the family name. On this one here, we had another Gartley. Yes, Anne Gartley, wife of William Mitchell. And of course, once I go through scanning through each one looking for a Gartley, there turns out there is an index in the back. And there were no Chestnuts, no Gartleys. But it did have this lovely map, which is upside down. But it shows Gartley Kirkyard, outside Aberdeen, outside Huntley, and surprisingly, A96 to Keith. So, nice little bit of fun in my family history research this week. All right, that about wraps us up this week. Thank you all for watching. As always, you can reach out to me a number of ways. I am on Tumblr, sonofswift.tumblr.com. You got a question for me by email, shovlin@gmail.com, SEIBHLEAIN. We are on Blue Sky, sonofswift.bluesky.social. I'll be posting this episode and then other things as I do my research and things I want to share. If you'd like to help support the work that I do and the work that I do further with AS21 Studios, then check out our merch store, tpublic.com/store/swift. If you're interested in setting up your own merch store and selling things to promote your work, then use our link in the description below, t.pub/link/AS21, and get started. As always, we are also brought to you by Sticker Mule. Use the link below to get $10 off your first order. This week's deal on Sticker Mule is, let's see, where is this? That is $19 for 10 2-inch by 2-inch keychains. It's normally $26, and it comes with free shipping. So check out the link below for Sticker Mule. And then, of course, thank you for StreamYard for powering this live stream. I'm going to be doing more live streams, like quick programming update. I'm bringing back the Friday night book reviews, but instead of having it as a series of videos with each individual book, I'm going to be doing a live stream like this. The reason I stopped doing it was because I kept on not finding a good place to sit down and record, and I didn't feel right recording in certain places. But if I do a live stream, I'm back in my studio here. I'm comfortable in this setup here, and most of the time, the only one to interrupt me is the dog. Right, Sherlock? Of course, he's got his show on Saturday that's getting way more views than anything else I've shared in the history of this channel combined. So, yeah, check out the Sherlock shorts on Saturday. Just go for a walk with my boy. All right, thank you all for watching. Hopefully, You learned something here. Hopefully, there's something you can take from this. And hopefully, there's something more in your history that you're going to find in the next week. See you all next week, and good luck.